Hello, hello. Thank you everyone for joining me. I'm live. I'm going to make today's session a bit of an interactive session, hopefully, because I'm totally unprepared for it, I have to say. I like to normally prepare for these lives, but this week I feel slightly unprepared because I was out visiting manufacturers actually yesterday in Leicester. So it meant that I didn't prepare for this live quite as much as I would have liked to have done. So I'd like this to be a bit of an interactive session. So if you are watching, please let me know in the comments who's here, because today is all about growing your British brand in 2023. Now, having worked with hundreds of British brands over the last few years, probably thousands actually, through our membership and our coaching program at Make It British over the last 10 years, I've started to see trends and patterns that have appeared with those businesses that are doing well and those businesses that aren't. So I thought what I'd bring you today is 11 tips or ideas that you can use to help grow your British brand next year in 2023. So some of these may surprise you, and some of these may not be something you're doing that you may want to think about. And I have to say, we all know like the next few months, possibly a year or two, are going to be challenging for the UK. But as a small business, I just want to say you are in a really good position, a much better position than the big brands and retailers, because you're small, therefore you can be nimble. They've got products that they've bought months ago. They have got marketing strategies that have been set months in advance by huge teams of people. You, as a small business, can switch things up, test things out, try new things, and change to see what works. And that is the most important thing that I want you to get across today. Now is your time to shine, okay? If you've got a business that makes in the UK, now is definitely your time to shine. And so take away from today, if there's one thing I want you to take away from today, it's that 2023 is definitely the year that you should be trying new things. Because if there's one common trend that I am seeing from those people that are doing well right now, is that they're testing out and trying new things. They're not afraid to try to do something different, because there's no doubt that trading and selling right now is very different to where it was in 2020, 2021, when we had the pandemic. Lots of people were, I was going to say locked up. Well, we were, weren't we? Lots of people were locked in and they had a lot of time to spend on the internet, surfing and searching. And a lot of business was done online. A lot of people did very well out of focusing all of their marketing efforts on Instagram. And what's worked in the last couple of years is not necessarily going to be what is going to work in 2023. So I ask you to listen and learn with an open mind today to what I'm going to say to you, okay? So I'm going to give you 11 ideas for how to grow your business in 2023. Hello, Betty Licious. Oh, fantastic. It's good, always good to know who's actually tuning in and who's here for the live. So thanks for putting your name in the comments. I'd love to hear, if you are watching in, how has trading been for you so far this Christmas in 2022? If it's been good, or what has worked? What's been good? What has worked? What have you done differently? I'd love to know. So let me know in the comments as we go through. So the first thing I want to say in terms of ideas, and actually look, I've got some fancy things that are going to come up on the screen. So number one of my ideas of ways that you can grow your brand in 2023 is track your numbers. Because first of all, if you want to grow your business, you can't do that if you're not measuring and tracking where you've been before, so you've got something to compare to. So a lot of small businesses that I speak to, when I ask them, and particularly people that we work with in our coaching program, and I ask them to talk through their numbers, how are sales looking, what's your current conversion rates, where are your sales coming from, they don't necessarily know the exact figures. And it's so important, because you won't know what's working if you're not tracking what has worked so far or what hasn't. So if you haven't already got yourself some sort of dashboard that you keep your numbers in, and that doesn't mean just a kind of cursory glance at Shopify statistics once in a while. This means regularly tracking. Maybe get yourself a spreadsheet, something you can put it in, the dreaded spreadsheet. I don't know, a lot of people that run product businesses don't like the idea of a spreadsheet, but somewhere where you are constantly monitoring what your numbers are. Because even if you think that sales are down and they aren't where they need to be, I'm sure there's some gems in there, but you won't know if you're not drilling down into the numbers, and you won't know what you need to fix if you're not tracking. Okay. So my number one tip is definitely to make sure you track your numbers. And actually, at the start of the year, that's a great time to do it. Look back on what's happened so far. Maybe spend some time over the Christmas holidays, just one day, looking back over where your figures are, where they've been this year. Maybe bring in a couple of years before that as well, so you start to see the trends and what's different, and start keeping a track in 2023 of what your numbers are. So number 2 on my list, it's time block. So again, any product-based business that we work with, we always notice that they spend far too long focusing on product development and not enough time on other things like marketing and sales. So hands up if you know you haven't dedicated enough time this year to working on your marketing and sales, and you aren't the only one if that's the case. So one of my recommendations is that you spend at least 30% of your time on doing marketing and sales. And that doesn't mean that's the sort of thing you can outsource to an agency or a social media person, and therefore you don't need to spend any time on it at all. Because even if you are outsourcing it, you should be setting the strategy for what your marketing and sales strategy is going to be for the year. So one of the best ways that I recommend to do that is actually to block out the time. Because if it's not in the diary, if you're anything like me, it's not going to happen. So set yourself time aside every week strategically to block out time to be working on marketing and sales, so that you've got a plan. And that doesn't mean as well that's just scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. That's not marketing. Marketing is actually thinking, how are you going to get people aware of your product and your brand and what you do, and how are you going to get them to make that purchase? Okay. So you really need to be blocking out time to do that. And maybe a good time now is to look back and see how much time you have actually spent in the last year. How much time do you think, if you had to estimate, let me know in the chat, how much time you spent thinking about products, tweaking products, designing products, going to visit a manufacturer? That's good. That should definitely take up some of your time. And how much of it have you actually spent on strategically marketing and selling? Or is that the job that always gets pushed to the back of the pile and the back of the to-do list? Because businesses that I see that do well are those ones that are always looking at marketing and sales and looking at opportunities and new ideas for marketing, sales, and actually focusing on it, because that is what moves the needle. You can produce the most beautiful products in the world, but if you're not actively marketing and selling them, then nothing's going to happen. So that's number 2, to block out that time in your diary to do sales and marketing. Number 3 is be more transparent. So this is so important. In fact, I heard from only today from another Make It British member who said, when I asked her, because she said sales have been really good for her this Christmas, what is the number one reason? And she said, because we're really transparent about where we make our products, who makes our products, and that we don't do greenwashing like the big brands do. And that is so important. And it's going to become more and more important to actually be transparent. There's so much talk about sustainability. The big brands have jumped on the bandwagon. They've done some shockingly bad and ill-timed campaigns, ill-researched, I should have said, campaigns where they've been outed for greenwashing. If you make in the UK, you know who makes your products. You can show who makes your products. You can be transparent about where your raw materials come from. You could be transparent about why your costs are what they are. That you are a small business making those products. The more transparent you can be, the better. Because people are starting to think more about the purchases that they make. And it's really important that you're able to show that. And by that, I mean in your marketing, on your website, the way you sell to your customers, where you talk about your products. How transparent are you being? And could you be more transparent? Is there more that you can do to be very open about the way you run your business and about the way you source your products and where your raw materials come from? So, number 3 is to be more transparent. So, number 4, which kind of goes along with that, is to educate your audience. So, if you have got a business that makes in the UK and you've done a lot of research into finding the best manufacturers and the most sustainable raw materials, are you educating your customers in terms of what that means and therefore how that reflects in your prices? Because if you're worried about my prices are more expensive and therefore am I going to have issues selling my products as people start to become more concerned about how much they're spending, how are you articulating to people as to why your products cost what they cost? So, for instance, are you educating them in how much longer that they will last and therefore what good value they are? So, do you let your customers know? Maybe you offer a repair service. Are you educating your customers in terms of why you do that, how you do that, where you do that? How are you letting people know? That could be on social media. It should definitely be on your website. Is it on your labeling? How are you educating your customers? Because some of the best British brands I know are really good at constantly making people aware, making customers aware about their brand and how it's made and why it costs what it does and why it's good value for money, because that's what you need to be educating people about right now, because that is what the big brands can't do, because actually they can't really offer what you can in terms of things like repairs, take back and repairs as easily as you can as well. So how can you educate your customers? That's number 4. Number 5, which kind of ties in, is to revisit your labeling. Now, at our Make It British Forum recently, any of you that were there for that would have seen that I showed some Google Trends with the words search term made in UK. And made in UK over the last few years has been rising significantly, as has made locally and other kind of locally related terms, compared to phrases like made in Britain, which I thought was very interesting. So how are you labeling your products? Do you label your products quite clearly where they're made? Are they made in the UK? Are you using made in the UK? Are you using made in Britain? Are you using somewhere hyper local? Maybe you manufacture in Yorkshire or so a certain small town and you want to tell people exactly where your products are made. So are your labels really clearly stating this sort of information? The same with sustainability info. How clearly are you labeling how what's gone into your products, what that means? How are you describing the materials that you use on your labels? What have you got? There's information on your product that tells people exactly where and how and from what your products are made. So it all ties in to the whole education piece, is make sure that your labeling matches that as well. Hi, Sue. I've just seen we've got some more people here in the chat. Brilliant. If anyone's got any questions or any points to add, I'd love to know. How useful are you finding this so far? Right, I've got another 6 points to go. So where are we at? Number 6. Okay, something a bit different now. In terms of product offer, try thinking, if you don't already, about whether there's things that you can offer on pre-order. And one of the reasons I say that is because the meeting that I was at yesterday with Leicester manufacturers, there was a lot of talk about the big retailers and how one of the biggest issues they've got at the moment is about the amount of stock that they're sitting on, because they've ordered so much of that stock up front, like they do, from overseas. It's already sitting on the water, as we used to call it back in my buying days. They're committed to it. They're sitting on a lot of stock and they're stuck with it. So they've got no cash flow. Now, as a small business, if you can offer pre-order on some of your products, if you don't already, then that's a great way of not being lumbered with a load of stock that you're sitting on, like the big retailers. So it means you can switch things around, you can test things, you can pre-sell something so that you don't have to make it before you've sold it. So is there something you can do on pre-order? If you're a new business just starting out, pre-order is a really good one to think about as well, particularly if you make in the UK. So this is one of the other advantages about making in the UK. A lot more manufacturers in the UK now will consider pre-order. So they will let you place a smaller order and commit to the actual quantity that you want to make closer to the time. So it's great for you to be able to get the cash up front if people pre-order from you, because a lot of UK manufacturers will love you over the big brands if you can pay up front as well, particularly if you're a small business, because some of the big retailers, in fact, a lot of the big retailers, no, what am I talking about? Most of the big retailers don't pay for 60 or more days after they've actually received the product, sometimes up to 120. I think when I was at Debenhams, it's 150. So for the manufacturers, they have to wait a long time for those big businesses to pay them. As a small business, if you can get the money up front from pre-orders and you can pay your manufacturers promptly, they're much more likely to be flexible for you going forward as well. And that's certainly one of the advantages of making in the UK, is you can offer things like pre-order. Just make sure that if you do, you find out from your manufacturer what their lead time is going to be at any point in time. Make sure you know that information. And you're also clearly communicating to your customers that buy from you what the expectations are in terms of when the product's going to arrive. Don't offer a pre-order, tell them it's going to be 2 weeks and then find out it's actually going to be 8. So make sure if you do offer pre-order, you set realistic expectations in terms of when the delivery will be. It's certainly a great way of testing out ideas for new products rather than committing to lots and lots of stock. Number 7 is to rethink your marketing. Now, if ever there was a time to try something different, 2023 is going to be it. What has worked before is not necessarily what's going to work going forward. Like I said at the beginning, lots of people shopping online during lockdown. It was relatively easy on Instagram to get traffic and sales through platforms like Instagram. That's not necessarily working anymore. So now is the time to rethink your marketing. When we did our Make It British forum a few weeks ago, we had a really interesting conversation with some established British brands talking about what was working for them right now in terms of marketing. Really interesting to hear some of the more, I suppose, old school ways that people were actually driving sales. Things like leafleting local customers, doing in-person events, which people haven't done for quite a while. Sending catalogues through the mail. Yes, post in the mail. Doing more emailing than they'd done before. Trying new social media platforms that they hadn't tried before. So don't just do the same thing as you've done before. What's that phrase? If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. Except I think for 2023, that's more likely to be do what you've always done and you'll get less than you've always got. You need to try things different and you won't know unless you try it. So collaborations as well. Is there collaborations that you can do to bring into your marketing to get your brand in front of more, like get your brand in front of different customers? Who can you collaborate with that aligns with your brand and who your ideal customer is, that maybe sells a different product type, that you can get together and do an event or a competition, or that you can put leaflets in their products when they send them out and vice versa? Is there a friend that sells a similar sort of product, a business connection that you know, another Make It British member if you're a member of Make It British? Who can you pair up with to collaborate with? Because 2 audiences shared is better than 1, and now's definitely the time to try and reach new audiences. So I urge you in 2023 to start rethinking your marketing. Number 8 is test out TikTok. So talking of rethinking your marketing, I don't think I ever would have said this even 6 months ago, and certainly not a year ago. TikTok was that platform that everyone's kids were on, or people's grands were on there dancing. And well, it used to be called Musically, didn't it, before it even became TikTok? And I remember it like that. It was literally people lip syncing. But every day I open TikTok at the moment, a different British brand has joined and is trying it. And as much as I hate to say it, I do think that more people are going to be moving over to TikTok. And we have to embrace TikTok, and we have to embrace short form video. Good thing about TikTok is it's much more raw and kind of done on the hoof, I suppose, as Instagram. It's a lot less slick, which may or may not work with your brand. And this is one of the issues that I'm hearing British brands raise, is that I don't feel like it's going to represent my brand properly. So I'm not saying don't continue on Instagram. You need Instagram. It's almost become a catalogue, a visual searchable catalogue of your business, a window into your business for people that to then go over to your website or to follow you somewhere else. So you need to be on Instagram. It's kind of a necessary. But do you also need to be experimenting on TikTok? I'm putting that out there as something for you to consider. Certainly download the app if you've not done already. Follow some other British brands and brands that you admire and see what they're doing. There's I saw a talk recently about TikTok, and the person that was giving the talk said there's two things that go on TikTok. There's education and there's entertainment. Now, the entertainment as a brand, you're probably not going to get involved in. It's the dancing and pointing and lip syncing and silly stories. But education is definitely something you can get involved in. So what does that mean to your brand? Definitely TikTok is something to keep an eye on, I would say. So I've put it in there for you to think about. Just going back to some of the comments, Betty Licious says, how long should you give the customer time to get the pre-order? That's a really good question, Betty. I'm really sorry, I can't remember your first name, Betty Licious lady. How long should you give? That totally depends. The first thing to consider, and how long you should give them to pre-order, is what is your manufacturing time, and then build in a little bit of a buffer. So don't pull a figure out of thin air for pre-order. I've known people wait for kind of 4, 6, 8 weeks to get British made goods. As long as you keep your customer notified as you go along, I think that's really important. The most important thing is, can you make it in time to avoid disappointment? If you're making it in-house, you're in a great position, but still be realistic and don't put yourself under any pressure. I think once you go past about 6 to 8 weeks, unless it's in a kind of Kickstarter or crowdfunder campaign, it starts to become too long. The most important thing is from when the customer buys it, you keep them updated about it. So they don't, by the time they get it, they haven't forgotten about it. So I hope that helps. Right, let's get on to point 9. So number 9 is reward loyal customers. So if there's 2 ways to grow your sales, sell more products to new people, or sell, no, that's not right. Hold on. How did I, let's start this again. There's 2 ways to grow your sales, to make more sales. The one thing is to find more customers to sell to. And the other thing is to sell more products to existing customers. And I think from rewarding loyal customers, if you've got a brand that makes in the UK, in order to get them to repeat purchase or spend more with you each time they buy from you, is a really good way of growing your sales. Because I'm sure there are some real gems of people that have already bought from you, who love you, who would like to hear more from you and find out what you're offering next. So make sure, firstly, that you're keeping them in the loop and you are emailing existing customers regularly. Is there also something you can send specifically for loyal customers so they feel special? Maybe that's even a Christmas card that goes through the post. Also think about, what are you doing for those loyal customers when they buy from you? If you notice that someone repeat buys from you, are you dropping them in a little note to say thank you for another purchase? Are you even getting on the phone to them? I mean, talking about rethinking your marketing, getting on the phone, as in old school sales in that way, and speaking to existing customers is a brilliant way to get loyal customers because they feel really valued. We've worked with people who have customers who've come back time and time again and spent thousands of pounds with them because they pick up the phone about an order. When they see an order come through online for like a £500 jacket, they get on the phone to that customer just to say, thank you for your purchase. Can I just double check this? Or can I just double check that? It's a really good way of opening up a conversation with someone. 9 times out of 10, they will speak to you. They'll absolutely love it that the brand owner is calling them and asking them a question. You could also reach out to them on social media, but I think actually picking up the phone old school and speaking to loyal customers is a really good way to get those customers to continue to be loyal to them. So have a think about what you can do to reward those loyal customers that you've already got. And if you don't know who your repeat customers are, then go back to point number 1, which was track your numbers. Within that, you should know who are your highest spending customers. Keep a list of them and do something special for those customers that are spending money with you every month. Who are your top customers, your most loyal customers? That's definitely something that you can do to offer the personal touch, okay, which very few of the big stores will do. So this is where you can be different. Number 10 is brush up your websites. Now, websites are one of those things where a lot of brands do a set it and forget it. They'll get an agency to develop it for them and it'll look fantastic when it's first launched, but then they don't actually know whether that website is actually driving sales for them. So you should definitely know with your website, what is your conversion rate? What are your most visited pages? How many people are adding things to the shopping cart and then not going on to purchase? What are those products that they're adding to the shopping cart and not going on to purchase? And then working out why. So if your conversion rate is low, but your traffic to your website is good, you're getting people on your website, but there's something about your website that is stopping them from actually making a purchase. So you need to be digging down and looking at what is actually happening on your website and whether that website is doing what it needs to do for you, which is delivering sales. And particularly, I see when people have spent a lot of money on a fancy web agency, they've got a lovely looking website, but not as necessarily a really well converting website. And by converting, I mean converting traffic, i.e. visitors to the site, into sales. So take a look at your website, maybe with a customer's eyes. Think about it from a customer's perspective. What are the reasons why they might not be purchasing from you once they get onto your site? Maybe it's mobile. Maybe more than 50%, 60, 70% of your traffic is from mobile, but your website hasn't been optimized for mobile. So do that whole customer journey through the customer's eyes that they would do and look at your figures for your website, look at your analytics for your website and work out where the issues are, where are the bottlenecks on your website, and think about getting them fixed. Because a lot of people launch a website and then don't think any further about it. And then they wonder why they've not got any sales. So if sales are down for you, look at how much traffic are you getting to your site. If the traffic is the same as it was last year, but the conversion rate is lower, you've got an issue with your website. The same amount of people are coming, but they're not buying. So what is it about your offer, the website, the way you're presenting it to them that is not optimized and it's not working? And if it is that your conversion rate is the same, but you've got less people coming to your website, you need to spend much more time on marketing to get people to your site. So think about adding that to your marketing strategy when you start looking at spending that all important time every week on doing your marketing. Did I see we've got another question? Deborah says, I haven't launched my brand yet, but would you suggest I start with a small range of products rather than offer lots of choice? Yes, definitely, Deborah. This is one of the biggest things that we always say, is that you should not have too much choice. The problem with too much choice is that people don't know what to pick first, and then they end up buying nothing at all. And Google the jam experiment, which is my favorite. It's an academic research, but it's really good about how if you offer too much choice, people buy nothing at all. It's been scientifically or academically proven that too much choice. So you say you want to start with home textiles like cushions, but also lower cost items. Pick one thing and do it well. Don't let developing lots and lots of new products put you off launching and mean you haven't got enough time to spend on marketing and sales to start with, Deborah. I know someone who just launched with just cushions, and sold out of her first order because she unapologetically just launched with cushions. Doesn't mean she didn't go on and add more items to her collection later on, but you need to test these things. So I would definitely, Deborah, keep that product range as small as possible when you first start out. Betty says, how important is packaging? It depends what your brand stands for in terms of sustainability, I would say there. And also whether you're wholesaling. So when it comes to packaging, if you've got a brand that you're selling as sustainable, but you're putting tons of packaging on, you've got a total mismatch. If you're wholesaling and selling in stores, you do need to think about what the packaging is on your product. I think more important when you deliver your product, if you're selling online to your customer, more important is a nice little note in there from you personally as the brand than lots of fancy packaging and tissue paper. Some of the best products I've ordered recently from British made brands have come in brown paper. But the all important thing is that lovely little note that they've handwritten, or maybe someone in their office has handwritten, but it really looks like they care. Definitely. Right, so let me just recap on what the points are so far. So number 1 was track your numbers. Number 2 was block out your time. Number 3 was be more transparent. Number 4 was educate your audience. Number 5 is revisit your labeling. Number 6 is offer pre-order. Number 7 is rethink your marketing. Number 8 is test out TikTok. Number 9, reward loyal customers. And number 10, brush up your website. And then finally, number 11, if you've got a British brand that you want to grow in 2023, I'd highly recommend joining our British Brand Accelerator. So British Brand Accelerator is our coaching program for small businesses that want to launch or grow their British made brands. If you're interested in finding out more, go to makeitbritish.co.uk/apply, and we can help you and hold you accountable to doing all of these things to help launch and grow your British made brand in 2023. And if you've got any questions for me about it, then let me know or drop me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to help answer your questions about it, or go to makeitbritish.co.uk/apply. So we've got a brand new cohort starting in January 2023, and it will be great to be able to help you to implement some of these tips and ideas that I've gone through here about how you can grow your British brand in 2023. And did I see we've got some more questions? Alex says, thank you so much. This is such a great refresher of what I need to focus on as I start to think 2023. Yes, definitely. Good. I'm glad it's a good refresher. The most important thing, I think at the end of the year, it's a great time to look back, even if you think the last few weeks maybe have not been as you've wanted them to be. Look back and see how you've done compared to the last couple of years, and also pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, 2019, because a lot of people are saying in retail, we're at where we used to be in 2019. So look historically at how you've done, what has done well, and what has not worked so well, and what can you build on, and what can you change, and what can you do new in 2023. If there's one thing I want you to walk away from what I've just said today, it's that you need to try new things in 2023. Okay, that's the most important thing. So I hope that's really helped give you some ideas for 2023. I'm not going to be live next week. I'm going to take a little bit of a break from being live. I am doing actually next Tuesday at 1 p.m. I am doing a free coaching call. So if you apply for British Brand Accelerator, you can come along to that. That's a great opportunity to ask more questions. So I'll send you details of that and how you can register. That will be on Zoom, although I might stream it out. I don't know. I have to think of going. I definitely won't be going live after that for a while. I'm going to take a little bit of a pause, but I will be putting more videos out on YouTube. So keep an eye out and make sure you're on our mailing list if you're not already. makeitbritish.co.uk/newsletter to see all the best information and tips and tricks that I share in the emails there as well. Alex says, this is such a great refresher. I saw that. Brilliant. Does anyone else have any more questions before we go? We've had some really good questions today. Thank you. And I hope you found this useful. Really good to see you all here on the call. And if we don't have any more questions, then it's been quite a long one today. I will see you again soon. There's always a delay. This is the problem between you leaving the comments and me seeing them. And what always happens is some poor person leaves a comment just as they disappear. Actually, now is a good time to remind you all as well. Actually, what am I talking about? I'm not going live. I'm going live all day on Friday for our Make It British Christmas pop-up. So all day Friday, Emily and myself from Make It British will be here streaming live on YouTube. We'll also be streaming through the pop-up, which Emily will put the link in the chat here as well. We've got fun chats, I think I'm going to call them, with lots of our Make It British members, all of whom make in the UK. It's a great opportunity to get some last minute inspiration for your Christmas gifts. And we've got a giveaway. So you need to register for the event. So you get entered in the giveaway, and then we'll be drawing the prizes in the late afternoon on Friday as well. So do pop in at some point on Friday to join the fun. It's going to be great. I'm going to be wearing a Christmas jumper. It's going to be really good. Fantastic. Alex, I think you're one of the people joining us, aren't you, for our Christmas fun on Friday? It's going to be lots of fun. Emily's just put the link there in the comments. makeitbritish.co.uk/pop-up 2022. It's going to be so good. It's going to be Christmassy. Can you believe it's almost December? Fantastic. So do try and join us on Friday for that. That will also be streaming out through Facebook. Might even stream it on LinkedIn. Going to be going streaming crazy on Friday. So I won't be doing any of these Tuesday ones for a while. That's what I should have said. Great. Okie dokie. Lovely to see you all today. Take care. Bye.